Good evening and welcome to a Photoshop tutorial. This particular tutorial will concentrate on shortcuts. And when I talk about shortcuts, I'm talking about using your keyboard to access commands on your Photoshop package. Now this Photoshop package can be either Photoshop 3, Photoshop 4, Element 6, Element 7, Elements 8. The only thing to bear in mind is that when I talk about a Mac, I'm talking about command and a key. And of course, if you're using a PC, you will use the control key plus the key. Well, let's begin by opening Photoshop. And in this instance, I'm going to open up Photoshop Element 6. The first thing I want to do is I want to load a file. Traditionally, I would have went and opened the file menu bar and etc. etc. But in this case, what I want to do, and again on a Mac it is command plus the letter, and on a PC it's control plus the letter. And as I'm using a Mac, I'm going to be using command O, and command plus O indicates open up a window to let me choose a file that I wish to open. In this case, what I've done is I have programmed the Mac to store all of my JPEGs in an easily accessible folder. You may have your folders in different areas of your computer, and in that case, all you got to do is use this to switch to wherever you have stored your data and proceed to load a file. So I've chosen a file and we've now loaded it. And that has taken a very simple procedure of using on the Mac a command plus the press of the O key, or on a PC the control key plus the O key. Now I'm going to move through a few other of the file orientated commands, and if you wanted to open up a new document, we'd have to go again to the toolbar and choose the appropriate area to open a file. Whereas here, all we've got to do on the keyboard is again, it's Command N, and Command N brings up a window that will allow us to start off a new file. And I'm just going to type in new file. It's going to be 10 by 8. It's going to be 350 pixels. The colors are RGB, and it's going to be filled with white. And if I press the button, we now have a brand new file brought up on the screen. Of course, if we wanted to close an image, again we've got, instead of going to the toolbar, we can do a control on the PC, a control W, on the Mac, a command W. Command W will close off that file. That file is closed off without being saved. You could, of course, save the file first of all and then closed off the file. If you haven't carried out any changes to the file, you'll find that it will not ask you, do you want to save changes? So we'll move on to some of the save commands. And what I would normally use save as, and that gives you the opportunity, if you're doing a long task, to make several copies of it. Whereas if you just save, you're writing over the current copy. So I would always recommend that you use save as. Gives you the opportunity to keep several copies of the same file at different stages of its production on your hard drive, so that if you make a mistake, you can step back in time, as opposed to having to retrace what you did from the very first image to where you felt the image was complete. So what we're going to do here now is, again, I'm going to use a save as command, which is I'm going to press the shift key and I'm going to press the command key on the Mac. I'm going to press the S key, and you'll find we've got a save as window will appear on the screen. And in this case, as I explained, if we wanted to change this session, we'll change this session to a Z, and effectively where we're going to store it, we're going to store it in along with all the JPEGs that I have separated for this particular exercise. And if I press save now, it's going to come up, because it's a new file, because I give it a Z extension instead of overwriting the previous file. It's going to ask me what quality I don't want it. I have already got these preset at 12, set at maximum, and that's very simply done by making sure that this bar is checked to maximum and make sure this particular slider is moved up to 12, or indeed you can type 12 in the box. So if we say OK to that, we'll find that the file has now been saved, and if we wanted to close the image, we could go Command W closes off the image. Let's say we could begin to practice those. I think there's some very useful commands to learn, because at the end of the day it will get you Command O, up comes your image, load an image, and if you wanted to do a save as, it is a Shift Command and S, and we could go off and save the image as a new file. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you go off now and practice. There'll be lots more in this particular series, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the file actions first of all and follow on with other actions that we will get involved in. So what we've covered now today, we've covered opening a file using the keyboard, we've created a new document using the keyboard, we've closed the file using the keyboard, we've saved as using the keyboard, and there's lots more of keyboard shortcuts to use. Just stay tuned. Thank you very much.